Okay, I'm live. So today I'll be reading chapters 21, 22, 23, and 24. So grab your Bible, sit back, and listen. So this is Exodus chapter 21. These are the ordinances that you are set before them. Laws about slaves. When you buy a Hebrew slave, he is to serve for 6 years. Then the seventh he is to leave as a free man, without paying anything. If he arrives alone, he is to leave alone. If he arrives with a wife, his wife is to leave with him. But if his master gives him a wife and she bears him sons or daughters, the wife and her children belong to her master. The man must leave alone. But if the slave declares, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I do not want to leave as a free man, his master is to bring him to the judges, and then bring him to the doorpost. His master will pierce his ear with awl, and he'll serve his master for life. When a man sells his daughter as a concubine, she is not to leave as the male slaves do. If she is displeasing to her master, who chose her for himself, then he must let her be redeemed. He has no right to sell her for foreigners because he has acted treacherously toward her, or he chooses her for his son, must deal with her according to the customary treatment of daughters. If he takes an additional wife, he must not reduce the food, clothing, or material rights of the first wife, and does not do these things for her. She may leave free of charge without any payment. Laws about personal injury. Whoever strikes a person so that he dies must be put to death. But if he did not intend any harm, and yet God allowed it to happen, I will appoint a place for you where you may flee. If a person schemes and willfully acts against his neighbor to murder him, you must take him from the altar to be put to death. Whoever strikes his father or his mother must be put to death. Whoever kidnaps a person must be put to death. Whenever he sells him or the person is found in his possession. Whoever curses his mother or father must be put to death. When men quarrel and one strikes the other with a stone or his fist, and the injured man does not die but is confined to bed, if he can later get up and walk around leaning on a staff, then the one who struck him will be exempt from punishment. Nevertheless, he must pay for his lost work time and provide his complete recovery. When a man strikes a male or female slave with a rod, and the slave dies under his abuse, the owner must be punished. However, if the slave can stand up after a day or two, the owner should not be punished because he is the owner's property. When the men get in a fight and hit a pregnant woman so that children are born prematurely but there's no injury, the one who hit her must be fined as the woman's husband demands from him. You must pay accordingly to the judicial assessment. If there's injury, you must give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, bruise for bruise, limb for limb. When a man strikes the eye of his male or female slaves and destroys it, he must let the slave go free in compensation for his eye. If he knocks out the tooth of his male or female slave, must let the slave go free in compensation for the tooth. When an ox gores a man or a woman to death, the ox must be stoned and meat may not be eaten. But the ox's owner is innocent. However, the ox was in the habit of goring when its owner has been warned yet does not restrain it, and it kills a man or woman. The ox must be stoned, and its owner must also be put to death. If instead a ransom was demanded for him, he can pay a redemption price for his life in the full amount demanded from him. If it gores a son or daughter, he is to be dealt with according to the same law. If the ox gores a male or female slave, he must give 30 shekels of silver to the slave's master, and the ox must be stoned. When a man covers a pit or digs a pit and does not cover it, and an ox or donkey falls into it, the owner of the pit must give compensation, but he must pay it to its owner. But if the dead the animal will become his. When a man's ox injures the neighbor ox and it dies, he must sell the live ox and divide its proceeds. They must also divide the dead animal. If, however, it's known that the ox was in the habit of goring, that its owner had not restrained it, he must compensate fully ox for ox. The dead animal will become his. Gotta go blow my nose again. That's the other thing. Okay. Laws about theft. When a man steals an ox or sheep and butchers it or sells it, he must repay 5 cattle for the ox or 4 sheep for the sheep. If a thief is caught in the act of breaking in and he is beaten to death, no one is guilty of bloodshed. But if this happens after sunrise, the householder is guilty of bloodshed. The thief must make full restitution. If he is unable, he is to be sold because of his theft. If what was stolen, whether ox, donkey, or sheep, is actually found alive in his possession, he must repay double. Laws about crop protection. When a man lets a field or vineyard be grazed in, and allows his animals to go and graze in someone else's field, he must repay with the best of his own field or vineyard. When a fire gets out of control, spreads to thorn bushes, and consumes stacks of cut grain, standing grain, or a field, the one who started the fire must make full restitution for what was burned. Laws about personal property. When a man gives his neighbor valuables or goods to keep, but they are stolen from that person's house, the thief is caught must repay double. If the thief is not caught, the owner of the house must present himself to the judges to determine whether or not he has taken his neighbor's property. In any case of wrongdoing involving an ox, donkey, a sheep, or a garment, or anything else lost, and someone claims that's mine, the case between two parties come before the judges. The one judge, the one of the judges condemn must repay double to his neighbor. When a man gives his neighbor a donkey, an ox, sheep, or any other animal to care for, but it dies, is injured, or is stolen, while no one is watching, there must be an oath before the Lord between the two of them to determine whether or not he's taken his neighbor's property. It's the owner must accept the oath. The other man does not have to make restitution, but if in fact the animal was stolen from his custody, he must make restitution to the owner. If it was actually torn apart by a wild animal, he's to bring it as evidence. He does not have to make restitution for the torn carcass. When a man borrows an animal from his neighbor and is injured or dies while his owner is not there with it, the man must make a full restitution. If the owner is there with it, the man does not have to make restitution. If it was rented, the loss is covered by the rental price. Laws about seduction. If a man seduces a virgin who is not engaged and he sleeps with her, he must certainly pay the bridal price for her to be his wife. If her father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he must pay an amount of silver equal to the bridal price for her. Capital offenses. Do not allow sorcerers to live. Whoever has sexual intercourse with an animal must be put to death. Whoever sacrifices to any gods except the Lord alone is to be set apart for destruction. The law of protecting the vulnerable. You must not exploit a resident alien or oppress him, since you are resident aliens in the land of Egypt. You must not mistreat any widow or fatherless child. You must not mistreat them. They will no doubt cry to me, and I'll certainly hear their cry. My anger will burn, and I'll kill you with the sword. Then your wives will be widows, your children fatherless. You lend silver to my people, to the poor person among you. You must not be a competitor to. You must not charge them interest. If you ever take your neighbor's cloak as collateral, return it to him before sunset. For his only covering is that it is the clothing for his body. What will you sleep in? And if he cries out to me, I'll listen because I am gracious. Respect for God. You must not blaspheme God or curse a leader among your people. You must not hold back offerings from your harvest or your vats. Give me the firstborn of your sons, the same of your cattle of your flock. Let them stay with their mother for 7 days, but on the eighth day you're to give them to me. Be my holy people. You must not eat the meat of a wild animal found in the field. Throw it to the dogs. Laws about honesty and justice. This is chapter 23 now. You must not spread false report. Do not join the wicked to be malicious witness. You must not follow a crowd in the wrongdoing. Do not testify in a lawsuit and go along with the crowd to pervert justice. Do not show favoritism to a poor person in his lawsuit. If you come across your enemy's stray ox or donkey, you must return it to him. If you see the donkey of someone who hates you lying helpless under its load, you want to refrain from helping him, you must help with it. You must not deny justice to a poor person among you in his lawsuit. Stay far away from a false accusation. Do not kill the innocent and the just, because I will not justify for the guilty. You must not take a bribe, for a bribe blinds the clear-sighted and corrupts the words of the righteous. You must not oppress the resident alien. You yourselves know how it feels to be a resident alien because you were resident aliens in the land of Egypt. Sabbaths and festivals. Sow your land for 6 years and gather its produce. But during the seventh year you are to let it rest and leave it uncultivated, so the poor among your people may eat from it, and the wild animals may consume what they leave. Do the same with your vineyard and olive grove. Do your work for 6 days, but rest on the seventh day, so that your ox and your donkey may rest, and the son of your female slave, as well as the resident alien, may be refreshed. Pay strict attention to everything I said to you. You must not invoke the names of other gods. They must not be heard on your lips. Celebrate a festival in my honor 3 times a year. Observe the festival of unleavened bread as I commanded you. You are to eat the unleavened bread for 7 days at the appointed time in the month of Abib, because you came out of Egypt in that month. No one is to appear before me empty-handed. Also observe the festival of harvest with you. The first fruits of your produce from what you sow in the field. Observe the festival of gathering at the end of the year, and gather your produce from the field. 3 times a year, all your males are to appear before the Lord God. You must not offer the blood of my sacrifices with anything leavened. The fat of my festival offering must not remain until morning. Bring the best of the first fruits of your lands to the house of the Lord your God. You must not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Promises and warnings. I'm going to send an angel before you and to protect you on the way and bring you to the place I prepared. Be attentive to him and listen to him. Do not defy him, because he will forgive your acts of rebellion. For my name is in him. But if you will carefully obey him and do everything I say, then I'll be an enemy to your enemies and a foe to your foes. For an angel will go before you and bring you to the land of the Amorites, Sethites, Perizzites, Canaanites, Hivites, and Jebusites, and I will wipe them out. Do not bow and worship to their gods. Do not serve them. Do not imitate their practices. Instead, demolish them and smash their sacred pillars to pieces. Serve the Lord your God, and he will bless your bread and your water. I'll remove illness from you. No woman will miscarry, be childless in your land. I'll give them the full number of your days. I will cause the people ahead of you to feel terror, and I'll throw into confusion all the nations you come to. I'll make all your enemies turn their backs to you and retreat. I'll send hornets in front of you, and they'll drive the Hivites, Canaanites, and Hittites away from you. I will not drive them out ahead of you in a single year, otherwise the land would become desolate and wild animals would multiply against you. I'll drive them out little by little ahead of you until you have become numerous and take possession of the land. I'll set up your borders from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea, and from the wilderness of the Euphrates River, for I will place the inhabitants of the land under your control, and you will drive them out ahead of you. You must not make a covenant with them in your land, covenant with them or their gods. They must not remain in your land, or else they'll make you sin against me. If you serve other gods, it'll be a snare for you. The covenant ceremony. Then he said to Moses, "Go up to the Lord, you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of Israel's elders, and bow and worship at a distance. Moses alone is to approach the Lord, but the others must not approach, and the people are not to go up with them." Moses came and told the people all the commands of the Lord and all the ordinances. Then all the people responded with a single voice, "We will do everything that the Lord has commanded." And Moses wrote down all the words of the Lord. He rose early the next morning and set up an altar and 12 pillars for the 12 tribes of Israel at the base of the mountain. Then he set out the young Israelite men. They offered the burnt offerings and sacred bulls as fellowship offerings to the Lord. Moses took half the blood and set it in basins. The other half in the blood he splattered on the altar. Then he took the covenant scroll and read it aloud to the people. They responded, "We will do and obey all that the Lord has commanded." Moses took the blood, splattered on the people, and said, "This is the blood that the covenant that the Lord has made with you concerning all these words." Then Moses went up with Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of Israel's elders, and they saw the God of Israel. Beneath his feet was something like a pavement made of lapis lazuli, as clear as the sky itself. God did not harm the Israelites' nobles. They saw him and they ate and drank. The Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on a mountain and stay here so that I may give you the stone tablets with the law and commandments I have written for their instruction." So Moses arose with his assistant Joshua and went up the mountain of God. He told the elders, "Wait here for us until we return to you. Aaron and Hur are here with you. Whoever has dispute should go to them." Moses went up the mountain, the cloud covered it. The glory of the Lord settled on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it for 6 days. On the seventh day, he called Moses from the cloud. The appearance of the Lord's glory to the Israelites was like a consuming fire on the mountaintop. Moses entered the cloud as he went up the mountain, and remained on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. That's a lot. So, it starts out just talking about the laws, and there was a lot of laws. I don't really know how to summarize those because there's just a lot of laws. But and then it shows about how you're supposed to respect God, and then more laws, and then how you're supposed to hold Sabbaths, festivals, and the work you're supposed to do. And then God made some promises, of what he was going to do for them, but then what they'd have to do, warnings. And then there was a covenant ceremony. And so he took 70 elders with him up to the mountain. And then Moses went up the mountain with God for 40 days and 40 nights. So that's all for today. Remember, God loves you. Goodbye.